Topics. So without further ado, we're going to move into our topic for tonight, which is, was the moon landing a hoax? Get us started out here. We have Austin, NEETpride. Thank you for being here, and the floor is all yours.
Hey, I don't think a lot of moon landing skeptics think that the entire thing is fake and NASA just it's just a money sink. No, I think they actually do develop technology and stuff. I do think astronauts left Earth. They went in low Earth orbit. No, let me share my screen real quick. The Unlike that claim of landing on the moon and getting back, we know that other countries have landed on the moon. Um, we know that NASA can still put things on the moon. Not humans, unmanned crafts. Now, obviously, the burden of proof is on the person making the positive claim, and this is probably the most extraordinary claim that anyone's ever made. Putting men on the moon, who does that? No one. So, except for NASA, like 50 years ago. But now NASA's trying to go back. In fact, they've been trying to go back since about 2004, or that's when the deadline was set. So in 2004, Bush said we're going back in 2020. Well, then, oh, can I move this? Fuck. Yeah, so then Obama scrapped it. Okay, fine. I guess it was too expensive. Or wait, was it too expensive? Because if you adjust for inflation, it really hasn't changed that much. And this is in 2020 dollars. Uh, I mean, we can dig into the data source if you really want. It seems legit to me. But yeah, it's almost the same as it was in 1963. And on top of that, they already had all the technology. Like there was no research necessary at this point. It's it's only development. I mean, if the goal is just to get back to the moon. So yeah, Trump must have realized that, and then he's like, we have to go back. He's gonna make America great again, right? But then oh yeah, and then this is NASA on the NASA website. This isn't even like an old link. Like this is from I got this today. And they still say we are going to land astronauts in the lunar South Pole by 2024. That's what NASA's saying now. And on top of that, it's going to be a woman and a black person, a black male to be specific. Great. I'm all for doing that. Okay, well wait, what's this? An international astronaut on the moon by end of 2020. Well, that's not next year. Why are they saying that? Okay, it's an international astronaut. Oh no, no. Okay, so this is the new plan. They pushed it back again, and they're saying they're gonna send 3 or 4 astronauts around late 2024 or 2025. So they keep on, pushing the buck, like first is 2020, then it's 2024, then it's 2025, and it'll probably just be whenever. Whenever they figure it out. They'll get there when they get there. Um, so what would I need to be convinced? Well, I mean, if they could actually accomplish this, then yeah, that'd be great. Uh, they'd have to do that, and then also for me to believe that they did it 50 years ago, they'd have to get a picture of uh, some of the stuff they left there, like the famous flag or the lunar rovers. Now, what will not be sufficient evidence for me is the retroreflector claim. A lot of moon landing believers, they always say, "Oh, they're retroreflectors. That's uh like incontrovertible proof." But it's not really that we put men on the moon. It's just proof that we put stuff on the moon, unmanned crafts. Because yeah, NASA, yeah, sure, they got some retroreflectors out there, but so did Soviet Union, and I guess more recently, so did India. And people always say, "Oh, they're great pictures, great pictures. We have the best pictures." And when you like search this, like third-party evidence, they do some really deceptive stuff. Oh shit. Okay, well, I'll just go at the end then. So probably the most suspicious thing is they've been told, just like the JFK files, they've been told to declassify them. You notice this is on a Wayback Machine, an Internet Archive link. It's because they still haven't, they deleted the site because people kept on like linking to it too much. Anyway, it says there are millions left. There's still, out of the 8 million, 5 million have been declassified. So another way they could prove their claim is they could declassify all of them. And yeah, that's it.
All right, we'll end the screen share there, if you don't mind.
Good intro.
And we will. Yes, thank you so much for your introductory statement there, Austin. We're going to move over to Dr. Raza. You have 6 minutes on the floor, and it's all yours.
All right. Thanks for having me. And let me say first, actually, I'm not really here to debate. I'm mostly here just to tell my story. And I am an insider, a whistleblower here. And for many years, I was a moon landing skeptic. I was skeptical whether they landed or not. But once I actually gained inside information, then I'm no longer skeptical. I know for a fact it was fake. And I'm actually working with people who are designing the new type of radiation shielding needed now in order to really send men to the moon. So I think I would like to begin with what it is that I'm revealing here, and then later talk about who I am, how I came to know this. Okay, so what I'm revealing here is that NASA has an agreement with the Chinese Space Agency where the Chinese Space Agency agreed not to blow the whistle on the Apollo missions in exchange for technological support. NASA is giving China technological support, and I'm actually working with them. This is how I came to know it. Now, the second part of the thing that I'm revealing here is that NASA actually has plans to admit they faked this thing. Now, the plan is, the original plan was, we will admit Apollo never happened after Artemis 3 successfully lands men on the moon this time. Then we'll admit that was the first time. Now, that date is being pushed back to 2006. For me, it doesn't matter. So now they might have to admit it early, because what's happening, as you know, in 2024, they're hoping to launch the Artemis 2. And I can guarantee you those astronauts, if they do actually send those astronauts around the moon in 2024, they will be coming back with cancer. Okay, so NASA might actually have to admit early, okay, our Artemis 2 didn't go so well, the astronauts came back with cancer, and we lied about the Apollo missions, because there is no way to protect human beings from the deadly radiation of space. That's my job. I actually work in the designing of space radiation materials. Okay, so that is basically what I'm revealing. Who am I? I'm just, I'm an American. I went to university. I was an astrophysics major in Portland State University. and I was actually offered a job at NASA way back in 1999, but I turned them down and I left the country. And recently I'm working as a quantum physicist now in China. And I have been studying the Artemis mission and the materials they're building the Artemis ships out of. What are their plans for protecting the astronauts for radiation for real? And I've been translating those articles into Chinese, so I know a lot about space radiation materials and what are our plans to actually send astronauts to the moon for real this time.
There. All right. Well, thank you so much there, Dr. Raza, for your introductory statement. We're going to move it over to the other side, and maybe we should have established this. Who would like to go first?
I can go first if you want.
All right. Mark, the floor is yours.
All right, give me 1 sec. I'll just share my screen. Thank you. Just tell me when I'm up and running.
We are off to the races. There you go.
Okay, I just want to say thank you to Modern Day Debate, moderator Ryan, TJump, my partner, my opponents, and of course you for watching. So we're doing, is the moon landing a hoax? I think the real question was the moon landing a hoax? Is basically the main thing to understand is there wasn't one moon landing, it was multiple moon landings, and we didn't come there from nowhere. It wasn't just like we set out and then landed on the moon. Before the Apollo missions, there were the Pioneer missions. They were originally designed to orbit the moon. There was also the Ranger missions, which were designed to impact the moon, but not lift off or be recovered. These missions were followed by the Surveyor missions that performed controlled landings on the moon, but didn't lift back off. In fact, the Apollo 12 crew visited the landing site for Surveyor 3 and removed parts to return to Earth. The first Apollo missions did not actually land on the moon, but rather tested our capacity for doing so. For instance, Apollo 8 orbited the moon 10 times and returned, while Apollo 10 descended to their lander within 14 kilometers or 9 miles to the surface without actually landing. Apollo 1 was a disaster that never left the landing pad. A fire broke out and killed all occupants. They were Gus Grissom, Howard H. White, and Roger B. Chaffee. This was a complete disaster for NASA and led to Senate hearings and inquiries as to how it happened. The only reason the program still went ahead was support from the president, Lyndon B. Johnson. There was also dramatic problems with Apollo 13 mission, whose crew nearly died when an oxygen tank exploded on the side of their craft. These mistakes and failures are a reality of space exploration. However, they're terribly bad for NASA, which tries to avoid these incidents at all costs. They're just two of the disasters associated with the Apollo missions. And I guess my question would be, why fake disasters? Why sort of make these things happen just to, and how did they fake the deaths of three men who are very public figures? This sort of goes out to all of the people who are religious, who sort of claim a religious reason, basically for believing that the Earth is flat or we didn't reach the moon. The Apollo 9 crew, Bill Anders, Jim Lovell, and Frank Borman, read Genesis 1 on December 24th, 1968. No matter how deeply your religious conviction, it cannot stand up against the facts and the reality of the situation when you actually travel there. I'll just skip that. Retroflectors. This was mentioned, but as of this year, there's actually 5 retroflectors on the moon. The laser ranging experiments have been done, if you know the precise coordinates shooting lasers onto. The box reflectors are ingenious. They'll always reflect the light back to the origin, no matter what angle it comes in. Interestingly, the laser reflection is becoming less strong as dust is beginning to cover the reflector. They still work well, but independent organizations have noticed the change. Many countries have sent automated rovers to the moon. Russia first off in the 70s. There's been modern rovers, U2, Pragnam from India. They're way more practical to send than manned missions, but we certainly can reach the moon. That's not under debate, apparently. More countries than you think have impacted or reached the moon successfully. None of them have reported any kind of radiation or anything that would stop them from reaching the moon. There's nothing that would show that we cannot have the capacity to reach here. The future of moon landing. Mexico will be doing microbots. Multiple private corporations are reaching the moon. We basically have everything from SpaceX to Dogecoin for some reason reaching the moon. And manned missions are planning to go back to the moon, but apparently that's not under debate. So yeah, thank you. I'll call it there.
All right, excellent. Well, we'll stop the screen share there, and we will hand the floor over to TJump. Thank you so much for your introductory statement there, Mark, and the floor is all yours, TJump.
Yeah, so the retro reflectors I'm happy with. They prove that we were there by man. You can tell, you can look at the objects and what they're made of. They have no digitally moving parts. There's no way to set them up from a radio signal, which is what you would need from a rover-based platform. You need to be able to place it and then manipulate it to make it arrange in the correct orientation. There is none of that. It's mechanical. It means they had to move by hand. So that proves it was done by man. All of the predictions made by NASA were confirmed. We have all the pieces there. The Russians can take pictures of them. Everyone can verify these. These do reflect light in the same direction that it was shot at it, which is not a naturally occurring phenomenon. It was proved it was man-made. There is no controversy here, and everything the guy said about China is wrong. NASA supplies information to most countries who are in the space program. They don't have a secret cabal trying to hide the organization. There is no plan to reveal it. That doesn't exist. I know many NASA people who work at NASA. My cousin actually works with Lockheed, who works with NASA. Absolutely nothing he said was real. It's completely fake. I think he may be delusional. Other than that, that's all we really need. Yeah, there are boxes up there which are mechanically moving. They are not digitally moving, and it definitely must have been done by a human hand to have gotten it to be there, because none of the parts can move automatically.
All right, short and sweet. We're going to kick it into an open discussion. Just a little quick housekeeping, everybody. I did put the Modern Day Debate Gmail in the chat, so if you want to participate in these debates, you can contact us there. Excuse me. We're going to put it into our open discussion, so we hope everybody feels welcome at Modern Day Debate. We'll put it over to you, Dr. Rasa, to kick us off.
Oh, thank you. I wanted to reply to one of the things he just mentioned. Do you mind if I do a share screen? Just real quick.
You can go ahead.
He mentioned that nobody had, no country has done any radiation measurements which say that it's not safe up there. Okay, here we go. This is the Chinese radiation measurement dose on the lunar surface. Okay, now, and I'm part of the team who helped design this radiation sensing equipment. So I just want to say that his statement that nobody has proven that the radiation doses are. Now, coming back to his second, the other guy, he said that the other countries. Okay, he questioned my.
Sentence.
He questioned my.
You didn't complete your sentence there. The radiation doses are what? Like, I never said there wasn't any radiation, and I'm saying that no country has ever come out saying that it's not possible.
Right. That's my point.
Radiation.
Right. So that's my point here. China has a deal with NASA not to blow the whistle on the Apollo missions. So if China were just to come out and say, oh, the radiation is too dangerous for human beings, that would be blowing the whistle on the Apollo missions. So we have agreed to not do that.
Hold up. So you brought up a thing. You said the Chinese measure the radiation. What is it? Give us the number.
I just showed you the article. Now, I'm not.
Give us the number. I don't want to see an article. I don't care about an article. I want a published paper.
Okay. Anyway, it doesn't. Now, I want to answer
it
your
does matter
question.
Because if your article gives a number that isn't a lethal radiation, then your own article debunks everything you just said. So
the article's there.
You have to provide an article and say this article says the radiation level is this much, and then we can say, is this much lethal or not lethal? Just saying, here's an article, a random article with pictures of space stuff. Oh my God, it agrees with me. I can show you an article of just random pictures and say I'm right. That tells us nothing.
That's
we
why
actually show what in the article contradicts what we are saying.
Okay, like I said, I'm not here to debate that thing. I just want
You're in a
to address one point.
I'm sorry, Dr. Rasa, you arrived to a debate saying, well, I'm not here to debate. It's like going to a soccer game and saying, well, I'm not here to play soccer. You're literally, that's what you came here to do.
I came here to tell my story. If you just want to throw it out, that's no problem to me.
Anecdote. See, the problem there is you're basically saying, hey, well, I've got an anecdote. I've got this thing that I'm saying. Okay, great. But that's not evidence. That's not any kind of thing you can
I'm not trying to provide any evidence.
All right. So with all that being said, let's kick it over to Austin. I haven't heard from you in a little bit. Yeah, you had some things in the intro to respond to.
Because your partner apparently isn't here to debate. Hello? So
let's try to bring it into what we were discussing in our intros there. So
yeah. So Mark, you asked why were they fake disasters? No, the disasters weren't fake. They were still trying to get people into orbit, and they were still trying to develop space flight technology. And yeah, there's going to be some mistakes. They just never actually landed humans on the moon and got them back. And then as for TJump's retroreflectors thing, then what's your explanation for the Soviet and Indian retroreflectors? They just are built better because they did not need human hands.
Newer, yeah. Like if there's one that we literally brought there, we don't need to have them automated, and if there's one we didn't.
Yeah, the Indian one's newer, but I think the
Russian one isn't.
The Russian one is like a year later.
Yeah, but it's how that retro reflector was built. Like, so it actually had a foot on it, which was manually operated. Like the retro reflector, you can see there's no actual electronic parts to move that adjustment leg. I can't remember what it was called. It was called a adjustment lever or something like that. And basically you had to manually work it to get it to point in the right direction.
So just to clarify, the argument wasn't
the blueprints of it, or like do you have?
Yes, we have those.
You can actually see it.
We can. There's actually pictures of it. But the argument wasn't they couldn't do it. They could. They had the capability of doing this. They just didn't because they were brought with the astronauts. They didn't need to. Waste of money, waste of extra tools. So they just made them physically manual. So yes, they could have made it automatic. They didn't, though. We have pictures. We do have the blueprints. They do exist.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm curious,
and
what's your explanation for why they keep so much stuff classified? I just don't get the point of that.
The government does lots of stupid stuff that's irrelevant. Why does the fact that they do stupid stuff somehow invalidate the literal physical things that are physically there that we can physically interact with?
Because they would answer a lot of questions. Like I'd have a lot fewer questions if, everything was declassified instead of just some of it.
That's called an argument from ignorance, saying, well, we don't know, therefore it's a conspiracy.
It's not just we don't know, it's they are withholding information deliberately.
Yes, that's what we don't know.
Some of the information is dangerous. Like I would not like NASA to release all sort of rocketry information that they've got, because that, yes, they use it for sort of space travel, but it also can be very dangerous in the wrong hands.
But they're letting Elon Musk make rockets?
I don't think that's true. So there's a list. If you just Google list of random things the government has classified, they have the dumbest things classified you can possibly think of. The classification system isn't some kind of super system to protect us from information. It's a lot of just dumb stuff. They classify
that is originally why the classified system was developed, to protect us from information, right?
No.
That is but maybe that's not how it's used.
Again, this is not a relevant argument. The fact that NASA and the government have dumb stuff classified that doesn't need to be classified doesn't make a difference. It does not invalidate the literal physical objects that we can physically interact with on the moon.
Oh, no. Well, we can't physically interact with it.
We can.
We can look at pictures of it.
No, we can physically interact with it. You can send a laser, reflect it off it. That's a physical interaction, physics.
Yeah, just like
but stop talking. Stop interrupting me. What I literally just said, it doesn't matter what NASA has classified or doesn't have classified. Whether or not they have lots of things classified isn't evidence of a conspiracy. It's
not by itself. Sure, not by itself.
Not by anything. It's just the government classifies stuff. End of story.
No, it's not the end of the story.
That
Because there's a
literally
lot
is.
more to this story than just that. It's
Well,
also,
that is irrelevant.
All right, did you have
they
anything to
have a
add
lot of
there, Dr.
incentive to
Raza?
do it.
Yeah, I wanted to address one other point because he said something about China doesn't have a secret deal with NASA. Okay, it's not only China. Every country has this same deal with NASA.
No, they
NASA
don't.
is saying if you just wait until 2025, 2026, then we will admit we faked the Apollo missions, and then you can stop lying for us. And every country has that deal with NASA. India, Europe, Japan, even Elon Musk is lying for NASA now, saying the Apollo missions were real because he knows that they're going to admit it. So that's why I don't care. I'm not here to debate. I don't care whether you believe my story or not, because my story will come true as soon as NASA does admit it.
So China has a deal with me. It pays me $1 billion zillion a year to hide the fact that China is lying about literally everything. Like China has made a deal with me that I will just hide all of the falsehoods that Chinese government has made up and the Winnie the Pooh Xi Jinping has just made up. And so that thing that they told you, well, they actually told me they were lying about that. So debunked.
Yeah. Anyway, I don't care whether you believe me or not, because you'll see I'm right in the end.
Okay, we'll see. You're right. That's fine. Like that's that's sort of just anecdotal evidence that sort of you're going against the weight of everything else. So you're just saying, hey, I've got some sort of insider information. I'm special. You've got absolutely no evidence to back up what you're saying is true. Like TJump said, you could say that the Chinese government is paying me a squillion dollars to hide the fact that you're a spy. Like it doesn't mean anything when you come with this kind of statement. And
Yeah,
you'd
it
say,
doesn't
hey,
need.
we'll wait for them to reveal the truth. That's fine. Great. We'll wait for them to reveal the truth. But it certainly doesn't lend any credibility to you right now.
Right. I'm not, like I said, I'm not trying to debate. I don't need credibility. I don't need evidence. I don't need
Then
you
why-
to believe me. I
We
don't
do.
need
So
you to believe me.
that's the weird thing. So somebody that doesn't want to debate doesn't sign up for a debate. So you're basically saying, hey, I don't want to debate, but I'm going to come into a debate and debate it anyway. And so
Well,
I'm wondering, why are you here then?
Okay, so now I have created a YouTube channel, and there's a video called The 12 Smoking Guns. And these
Yeah.
are irrefutable evidences which can be found from the NASA web pages, which proves that it was a hoax. Now, if you want to debate those 12 points, whether it proves that's a hoax or not, you're welcome to try to debunk my evidences that these are a hoax.
Well, that's the kind of thing we'd expect you to come to the
Right.
debate with. If you've got indisputable evidences that it was a hoax,
Mhm.
you're saying, hey, but I'm not going to debate them. I'm just
Well,
going to
that point.
No,
that
well,
point.
let me finish. You're not saying, oh, well, I'm not going to bring my indisputable evidences to the debate. I'm going to leave them on a website somewhere where we can't talk about them or know what
can
they
talk.
are.
Right.
Present
This
them.
is
Go
so
ahead. What are they?
strange. This is
Go
one
ahead,
of the
tell us.
weirdest debates I've ever been in, where somebody's saying, hey, I've got indisputable evidence and I want to, go into a debate, but I don't want to debate them and I don't want to bring up the indisputable. I'm going to mention my website. It's so strange.
Right. Like I said,
Can you tell us one?
I can.
Tell us
Yes,
one.
I would be happy to. I have a Word document with the links to all the NASA. If you want
tell
to
us.
look at the
I don't want to-
evidence,
I just want you to use your words and tell me.
okay. So let's start with that then. Let me ask you one question now, since you obviously know a lot about the Apollo missions.
You don't have
if you
to
don't
ask
mind.
us questions. Just tell us what the first indisputable evidence is.
Okay, I'm about to do that. So, okay, as you know, how did they use the bathrooms on the Apollo missions?
They pulled their pants down and they peed.
In the command module, right?
Sure.
Right, because the LEM did not have a bathroom.
Okay.
Okay. Now, the astronauts had to relieve themselves when they were on the surface of the moon. So what did they do? How was the spacesuit designed?
To be able to pee into it.
Mhm.
Right. So they had a urine tank, and they also had a kind of a diapers they wore in case the number 2 came, right?
Sure.
Now, some of the astronauts also took a medicine to help suppress the urge to defecate. Okay, you've heard about that story?
Nope, didn't really care.
Okay, so the astronaut, now why this? Why did the astronauts have to try to stop the urge to defecate on the lunar surface? Was because they could not take off their gloves. Am I correct?
I have no idea what you're talking about right now.
Okay, so in the command module, there was 3
Can
people,
we skip
right?
what is the indisputable proof that it was fake? Which part of this story, rambling story, is the
Okay.
indisputable proof that it's fake?
I'll try to make this quick. In the command module, there was 3 guys. The guy who remained in the command module helped the last 2 guys put their gloves on. They got in the lunar module. They went down to the surface. They came back to the command module, and then they could take off their gloves and use the toilet again. Am I right?
They could use the toilet with their gloves on. They can poop in the suits.
Okay, but in the suits, but not out. That's not comfortable. So my point is this. My
Who
point
cares if
is
it was
this.
comfortable?
So,
Okay.
so that they basically in the suit they're basically wearing a nappy, essentially.
Right. So my point is this. So they went through all these efforts because the 3rd person who remained in the command module had to have his gloves off in order to help the other 2 guys into their gloves. Now, the question is this. After they all came back to the command module, they opened the door and went outside to retrieve the film canister to bring it back in the command module. Who helped the 3rd guy into his gloves?
The other
Didn't
2.
happen.
The other
So,
two.
so you can still use, while you have the gloves on, you can help another guy put his gloves on.
No, you can't, because
Yes, you can.
that's how they had to do it in the lunar module. They couldn't take their gloves off. It was
No,
only 2 men.
You can still do it when someone else has their gloves on. It's just that it takes more time and is less efficient. So,
Right. Okay, I believe you. Good job.
okay.
Now, next, let's go another.
Well, so I just debunked your irrefutable proof. I think we're done.
In your mind, you can debunk whatever you want, but
What?
you just want
so,
words.
So you think it's impossible to help put a glove on and turn it? While you
There's
have
no,
another glove on?
there's no way there's the guys with 2 gloves on could not help the 3rd person into his gloves.
Yes, they
Now,
can.
let's
before
go
you-
to the
Possible.
second.
Before you whip into your
Why-
next
why-
point there, Doctor, I do want to pass it back over to Austin. I feel like we've expounded on this one. Let's kick it over to Austin, and then we'll kick it back to you. Okay? So, Austin, do you have any thoughts over there? I haven't heard from you in a little bit.
Yeah. So, are you the type of non-skeptics who think that it'd be impossible to keep a secret? Is
I
that
don't know
one
what
of
that
your
means.
claims?
I don't know why you say non-skeptics for a
Oh, 'cause
start,
we're the
because
ones
I
who are
am.
skeptical of
Excuse
them.
me, Austin.
I was clarifying. I was
I
clarifying.
am skeptical of things, including
I
sort
mean,
of
it's not this
conspiracy theories and stuff like that. There's an overwhelming amount of evidence for this. So a skeptic is somebody who believes something on very little or no evidence, and there's an overwhelming amount of evidence. So, I kind of resent
Wait.
that you sort of use non-skeptic because I'm not a radical skeptic.
All right. Well, let's give Austin a few seconds here just to lay out his ideas, and like I said, I'll definitely give you guys a chance to respond, but let's give Austin a chance here.
So what I was going to say is, like, this guy. Can I show my screen again?
Yeah, that's all right. We're not overdoing it tonight.
Cool.
Oh, we're just having a little second there before we get the screen share up. Good chance for you guys to hit that like and subscribe button. I'm gonna do the ruthless plugs. All right, go ahead there, buddy.
So, have you ever heard of this? This guy did a study on the viability of conspiratorial beliefs. So basically, what he says is to keep a secret for 100 years, you need to have fewer than 125 people. Do you think it's possible to create the moon landing footage and create like for the astronauts and the people who fabricated whatever data was necessary to convince the people back at Mission Control that there was an actual moon landing. Do you think that number could be fewer than 125? How many people do you think it would take?
I do not understand the point of any of these questions.
I don't know.
Well,
I doubt that it would be possible to to keep it under 125. If you're including all of the engineers working on
I'm
it,
not. See,
all
that's
of
the
this.
thing. I'm not.
What is the point of the question?
So they built all of this stuff to not use it, is what you're saying?
No. See, that's a straw man. It's not.
Okay,
People
well,
who are
make your
building the
position clear.
technology,
I
the
can't
point
be
of it
straw
wasn't
manning
really to
you
get
when
to
I'm
space.
Austin. I can't be straw manning you when I'm asking a question. I'm asking you, did they build all of this to not use it?
No.
Okay.
So they built all of it to basically as a cover for ballistic missiles, like intercontinental ballistic missiles. They use a lot of the same technology, a lot of the technology that NASA developed, we still use today, like satellite technology.
Sure.
Like that's useful. And they needed to have
Sure.
this space race narrative to convince the strongly anti-war public in America to dump all our tax money into building rockets.
I'm sorry. We're talking about the 50s and 60s and 70s. The strongly anti-war public
Yeah,
isn't.
late 1960s and early 1970s. That was like the Vietnam protest era.
Yeah, not when they were designing it though. I don't understand the point of your
Oh,
your
sure.
your whole thing here. It's kind of just, well, they have a number of spin-offs from NASA. You're saying that they used it all for war and that none of it was actually for NASA. It's very hard to get an engineer to design something if you're lying to them about what they're designing.
Not really, because the goal was just to get a rocket into space, to get something in low Earth orbit, and once they had that, surprise, surprise, the space program in Soviet Russia and in America, they just stopped funding it as much. They cut back a lot as soon as they had the ability to do that. Because this is during the Cold War. They
No,
didn't
that's
care about
literally
science during the
wrong.
Cold War. They didn't
That's
care about
literally wrong.
exploration.
All right, let's give
They cared
TJump a
about
chance to
fighting.
respond.
So, as Mark was saying, if you tell an engineer to design something, they're going to design it with that minimum capabilities. So the lunar stuff was designed to go all the way to the moon, all the way and back, not just to low Earth orbit. It's not like you can just send anything to low Earth orbit and it'll automatically make it all the way to the moon and back. There's a lot of specific things you have to design in order to make it fully capable of getting to the moon and back. So if they didn't know that they were going to the moon, or they just only knew that they're going to low Earth orbit, it would have looked very different. Like, why did they put seats in it if it was supposed to be an unmanned thing to low Earth orbit?
And I'll just add something to that to back up TJump. Like they designed like a lunar rover, right? A vehicle with wheels to go around on the moon, specifically that functionality. What war functionality did the lunar rover have?
So
On
you're
North orbit,
assuming
it's the
that
Sky Castle. They're going to go onto the
May I
Sky
talk?
Castle. Definitely.
May I talk?
Let's try to wrap up this one. We'll hand it back over to Dr. Rasa because I think he's got his next point lined up. So, yeah, a couple more minutes there, Austin, and then we'll.
So
hand
it wasn't
back
like 100% of the technology developed
Oh,
was for war, just most of it. And yeah, most of it is used for war. Not the stuff that was, like the retroreflectors don't really have that much war viability, I think. But
no,
yeah,
they
it
don't.
was just
And
partial. Like it wasn't 100% one way or the other. I don't
but
know
I
why you
mean,
guys can't think in the gray area.
most of it, like, you've got the Saturn V rocket, which gets you into orbit. Okay, that could have some, but most of it is stuff like the command capsule, no war application. The lander, no war application. The other section, I can't remember what it's called, the auxiliary section, no real war application. Like all of the
The
systems that they're
spacesuits?
But if
designing.
you look at all of the R&D time and resources that were set aside for that, it's far less than just getting off the planet.
What does that sentence mean?
They were doing
Like
that
for the
anyway.
lunar stuff, like there was less time and resources spent developing that and researching
But
that.
they already did that. That's something that they were going to do regardless. Like whether or not we made it to the moon, they can still design to get us off the planet, and people would have accepted that. Like, there is no reason why you say, okay, well, we've got a space mission. We're getting people into space. We want to launch these satellites. Sputnik comes along. They design their own satellite kind of thing. Oh, we've got to get people into orbit. That became a priority. Oh, well, now we've got to tell people that we're going to go to the moon so we can convince them to agree to the stuff that we're already doing.
Yeah, they were manufacturing consent. You never heard that term before? You know what that means?
Yeah, I believe Noam Chomsky came up with that term. Yes,
Correct,
I
yeah.
have heard of that before, but you have no evidence to show that it was manufacturing consent, and they already had the consent of the people for space exploration. You're adding one step further of getting to the moon for consent they don't need.
All right. This
So
might
it
be
wasn't
yeah. Okay. I'll give you a chance there. We'll like yeah. Let's do 1 minute and then we'll hand it back over to Dr. Rasa.
so again, you're thinking like in this black or white way. It wasn't only for that. It served multiple purposes. Obviously, also because the Soviets had beat us in the space race every step of the way up until that point, it was really good PR to say, "Oh yeah, we're gonna land on the moon. Yeah, that'll beat them. That'll show those damn commies." So yeah, that was certainly part of it.
Sure, and that's a valid argument that they wanted to win the space race. Sure, it's just, do you have any evidence that that is what happened instead of them actually reaching the moon as what appears to be the case?
So wait, I just want to make sure we're on the same page. They had a lot of motivation to do that.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's
Okay.
motivation to win a space race. Sure, it's just your argument that
Do you think they
there
had
had to
motivation to
be.
lie about it
Well,
though?
let me finish, Austin. You're
Sorry,
interrupting
sorry.
a lot. Let me finish. Then you're basically saying, well, their motivation was to be able to research these weapons of war under the guise of a space program. I'm saying that isn't motivation because they already had a space program, whether or not they got to the moon, is what I'm saying. Now, whether they want to win the space race by appearing, yes, going to the moon, yeah, okay, that may be motivation. But you could say that, hey, they had motivation for just about anything to do anything on that sort of
All right.
claim. Just because they have motivation to do something doesn't mean they actually did it.
All right. We're gonna put a bow on that one. Back over to you, Dr. Rasa. You had another point lined up there earlier, and I wanted to give Austin a chance to speak. So I think we've had a good flesh out there. So back over to you.
All right. Thank you. And again, I really appreciate this because I like listening to their answers. You know, it really helps me to learn a lot about the people who still believe. Now, the second question I have is, there is a story from Apollo 12, okay, where, I'm sorry, my mistake, Apollo 13, okay, Apollo 13. The big accident, the near-death experience, and all the drama. Okay, now my question is this. On the way back to Earth, they had to shut down the power systems in order to save energy because the fuel cell broke down. So now, question is this. After they shut down and saved energy, it said, the astronauts claim we started getting really cold in the ship. Okay, what ship is that? No, I'm wrong. If you are in a spaceship, your ship is getting hot. It's not getting cold. Okay, what's the reply?
Space
They're
is
in the
cold.
command module.
Space is cold.
They're in the command module, by the way.
Right, so how is the command module getting cold when it should be getting hot?
Because it's connected to space and heat.
Space? There's no radiation in space?
Only under direct sunlight.
And they're not in direct sunlight?
No, they aren't.
They're coming back from the moon. They're in direct sunlight.
Direct sunlight?
Yes. How could they not be in direct sunlight? Hiding in the Earth's shadow? No. The ship would be getting hot. They lied. It's a script error. They wrote the wrong script. The astronauts should have said we've been getting hot, not getting cold.
No, that's stupid because then their spacesuits would like melt. If that was true, that
Right.
just
If
being
they were
exposed- no,
really
no,
coming
no,
back
no,
from the
no,
moon.
no.
Just 1 second, Dr.
We
Austin.
have
We'll let TJump speak,
satellites
and
and
then we'll hand
other
it back.
and other things in space. If it was the case that just being exposed to direct sunlight meant it was necessarily going to get hotter,
Of
then
course they're getting hotter.
no, that's stupid.
That's why the ISS has
Stop
a cooling
talking.
system.
Stop talking. So
Woo!
the
Yes, sir.
sun the sun can increase temperature over a long
getting
period of
juicy.
time.
Oh, yeah, like on the
from
way to the
zero.
moon, right?
Stop
All right,
talking.
just 1 second.
From
there, Dr.
zero.
We'll just
From zero.
We're going to try
So
to
if
let
you
him
leave an
wrap up his
object
point
in
there.
space for a long time and it's exposed to the sun, the temperature could rise. If you have a heated box that is heated to be comfortable for humans and you let it sit in space, it'll cool off. Even though the sun can generate heat, it won't generate as much heat as the heater in the thing. So it'll get colder. Even if the sun increases the temperature will still be going down because the heater's off. Not magic.
Wait, you turn off the heater, the temperature go. No, there wasn't even the ISS has a cooling system, right?
What?
The ISS has a cooling system.
Probably.
Ye-
What does that have to do with anything I said?
Because the ISS has a cooling system because any object exposed to the sunlight in space is going to heat up.
From zero, yes. So if there's an object that has no heat and it's left in the sunlight, it'll heat up. Yes.
Right. That's my point.
And if you have a heater and it gets hotter and you turn the heater off, it gets colder.
Why
So,
would
like-
you have a heater if your problem is heating in the first place? You have an air conditioning, you're cooling the ship.
I don't understand what you don't understand about just basic temperature.
I don't understand how you don't understand that space is cold. I don't
Space-
like, you know,
space is cold,
it may
but
accumulate
the
heat
ship
through
gets hot.
radiation from the
1
sun,
second there,
but
Dave.
however, it will radiate that heat. It will get cold. And if you're
No.
not in direct sunlight, which you've already admitted they're not in direct, that the humans themselves are not in direct sunlight, it will get
In
cold.
space, right, you're hiding in a
So-
ship and you're
All right. I want
I
to see
just
if
Googled
Austin
it.
has
The
anything to
ISS
add.
has a heater. The ISS has heaters and cooling
high
systems.
ISS has a cooling system
And heaters. And heaters.
And heaters.
and it has a cooling system because and also on the Apollo
And
mission they had
heaters. They heat things up there too. Makes it
no,
warmer.
no, they have a cooling system. It's a kind of an air conditioner to remove the heat.
Those aren't mutually exclusive, bonehead. You can have a cooling system and a heater. Oh,
Yeah, so the entire systems are sort of environmental controls. Okay, it's not like, well, because they're in sunlight and spaces will heat. It is just a heater or just a cooling system. It's a whole range of things.
Okay, it can be whatever I want it to be. Okay, thanks for the answer.
it can be basic technology that everyone has in every house. Oh my God, magic. No.
Yeah, everybody has an air conditioner.
China space condition. China.
Doesn't your air conditioner heat? I don't understand.
Anyway, I think I'm debating the wrong people. You guys don't know enough about the Apollo missions to, or space in general to know how to answer these questions.
We just answered them fully, and I think you're just
No,
you don't have the brain
the ship
capacity
would be
to understand
hot,
them.
and they lied.
No, I just
lied. They
explained to you
messed
why
up
that's
their
wrong. I just explained to you why that's wrong. Let me do it again. So there's an object in space. If it's in direct sunlight, it'll raise to a certain temperature. They were above that temperature.
Oh, they were,
Higher.
and then
So if it's above the temperature that it would raise to in the sun, and you turn the heaters off, it'll go down to the temperature that the sun.
turn
raises.
off the heater, the temperature goes down.
Yes.
You
that's
turn off
correct.
the sun. The sun is the heater.
Oh my God! How are you this dumb? So the sun.
How
will
are
raise
you this?
things
What?
to-
Turn off the heater.
Stop talking.
There's an air
Stop talking.
conditioner.
Stop talking.
All right. Just 1 second.
The
fellas.
sun will raise things to 15 degrees Celsius. The heater raises things to 85 degrees Celsius. So if you turn off the heater, it'll go down to 15 degrees Celsius because that's how hot.
Where
it
on the
is in
Apollo
sun.
missions did they have a heater?
Yeah.
Apollo mission.
So it was 3 degrees that it went to. Okay. Now 3 degrees is not the temperature of space. You do understand that, right? Yeah, you do understand that. So if it gets raised to 3 degrees and they turn off the heater, which keeps it at 21 degrees Celsius, it will lower to 3 degrees, which is the heat that is provided by the sun that radiates from the outside of the craft into space. and it heats the capsule or the command module that they're in. Now, if you turn off the heater and it goes to 3 degrees, that is cold for a human, but it's hot compared to space.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but the Apollo missions didn't have heaters. They had to rotate the ship to keep it cool. The problem was the ship was getting too hot, not too cold.
No, you're an idiot. The devices were the heaters. The devices, when they're on, generate heat, you moron.
The computers create a little heat, but they had to rotate the ship in order to dissipate the sunlight.
No.
Oh.
All right.
Yes, because you're an idiot. The combined
Okay.
heat
All
of
right,
both
all right.
things generates too
Next
much
question.
heat. You're
Austin, go
debunked.
ahead. These guys
You're
can't
debunked.
debate.
You're debunked.
Let's
Yeah,
let's
I'm
put
sure
it back
I
on
am.
you there, Austin, and we'll try to bring
Well,
it back into
gonna-
another topic.
Kind of put it back over to Mark and TJump. Why haven't we been back? What's your theory for this?
No
Because
reason.
it's a waste of money.
There's no reason. But
Yeah.
wait, if it's a
So
waste of money, why are they doing it right now?
Let me give an answer before you start
I was just
jumping
playing
in.
TJump.
So,
Sorry, man.
okay, well, T-Dump, do you have anything more to add?
What to the question
About
about why it's a waste of money?
Yeah.
Not really. I mean, the only reason to do it is
Okay.
for clout, political clout, essentially. And so there's not really any reason to go back to the moon. Most astronauts, I mean, like, it's just a big rock. We've been there. We've gotten the stuff. There's nothing more we can really learn by going back at the moon. There's not really a purpose to it. So it's just a giant waste of money.
Not going to NASA.
Yeah, so I'll finish my answer then. Basically, it's way more sensible if you just want information off the moon to send rovers, and we have done. And Australia's sending a rover, which for some reason they've called a rover because apparently Australians can't take anything seriously. But basically, we had no reason apart from getting samples and things like that. Men don't need to do that. We can do that with automated things. But now, as you showed in your pictures from when you brought your sort of screen shares up, they're looking at doing these automated capsules, which are rovers with legs and wheels that have some sort of, pressurized system inside them. So we're looking at making a moon base, and you showed the base on one of your screen shares that you did. So now we're looking at, hey, do we have the capability of making a base on the moon for, sort of transit to other planets, i.e. Mars, for instance? And so we're looking at going back, because before we did not have the capability of doing that, right? It just was too expensive. We couldn't do it. Now we're looking at whether, and trying to get implemented an actual base there. So that's why we're going back now, and why we didn't before. Because if we weren't doing anything new, what's the point? Rovers can do exactly the same thing, and we don't have to bring them back. We don't have to account for all of their, human needs. And now that we're doing a base, though, rovers can't do that. That's impossible.
Yeah, I agree with that. So why weren't they? There was still the same incentive still existed, like in the 80s and the 90s, to build a moon base. Why?
Sure.
Why have we only started like the 2000s?
Well, for a start, a moon base to where? It's only since the 2000s that
Mars
we've
existed.
actually put rovers on Mars. Like, all of this is being done in sort of these small incremental steps. It's like when in my presentation, when I said, hey, we didn't just shoot astronauts off to the moon. First, we did orbit. Then we did whether we can get to the moon by sending impactors, unmanned craft, just to impact the moon to make sure we could hit the thing. Then we did, these manned missions after the impactors to just orbit, see if we can orbit. Then we sent one out to see if we could use a lander. All of this is incremental. So when you're going along trying to make these steps, you don't just go, okay, well, we've reached the moon, we're just going to now establish a base or do then it shifted to Mars. Can we send unmanned craft to Mars? Next thing we're looking at is, how do we get people to Mars? And the moon may be a good way to have the momentum and the capability to launch something with manned humans off to Mars. But we can't just skip that step. We've got to do it one by one by one.
I'm confused about the point of the question. Like, why did the U.S. fund a road bill in 2023 and not 2012? What does this have to do with it being a conspiracy? The fact that there are lots of factors in investing into certain political decisions at different time periods isn't an argument for a conspiracy. This is like the dumbest
It
line
kind
of
of is.
questioning imaginable.
So the equivalent, like to your road bill
Yes.
scenario, it'd be like saying why, like if we have the capability to build roads, why haven't we built any roads in 50 years?
Yes, that's exactly what happens. Like all over the country. Like the government is
No,
stupid and inefficient and makes bad
do
decisions.
build roads like constantly. Like it never.
No, there are
maybe
lots
not
of
where
places.
you live, but
Oh my
like
God.
it's constantly happening all the time.
So there are lots of places all around the country that have decaying infrastructure. One of the biggest topics in the
That
country
sucks.
is our decaying
Not everywhere
infrastructure.
though. But
Why didn't we
everywhere we haven't
stop
been
talking?
back to the
Stop
moon.
talking. Stop talking. I don't know what you're
1 second
incapable of
there.
understanding the point here. So the point here is that there are things we could do now, but we're not doing them for lots of reasons. Lots of political reasons, personal motivation reasons, money reasons, all kinds of stupid reasons that are irrelevant. There are lots of things we could do to make the world better, but we're not doing them. Is that evidence of a conspiracy? No, it's not.
It's not necessarily. You have to take it as a whole, though. With all
There
the
is no
other
whole.
stuff.
There's zero
one-
evidence there.
1 second there,
None.
TJump. He was just
Zero.
responding.
Don't
there.
interrupt me, right, James?
No.
James Coons, who are you? Clearly, James. Don't interrupt me.
I'm
Don't-
clearly
Oh,
James.
come on,
yes.
you got to listen to the moderator. Come on, the moderator's got a job
Come
to
on,
do.
man.
All right, we're gonna let Austin respond for a second here, guys.
Can we just start over? Can you like list the evidence that you have that we have been to the moon? What is there?
Well, hold it. So the question was, and I just like that you're getting away from the question sort of thing, that you're sort of going, well, it's not, you know,
I mean,
so your question was, why didn't we go back? And it wasn't like NASA was doing nothing during the 90s and 80s and things like that.
Yeah, that's true.
The focus shifted to Mars. So and TJump's point is correct. If you have like a focus on, say, this area that you want to focus on from the government, and then you shift to another area, or you don't go back to that area because you've already done work on it, that may be a sign of governmental incompetence, but it certainly isn't a conspiracy that you're trying to, you've faked doing things in that area and you've moved to another one.
So you're saying it's a sign of competent government?
No,
when we
they're
go to the
totally
moon?
incompetent. I agree. U.S. government is incompetent. 100% agree. Not evidence of a conspiracy.
All right, you got some thoughts over there, Dr. Rasa?
Actually, I wanted to kind of make some closing statements. I have a video. It's called 12 Smoking Guns. And if you want, I would be happy to come back sometime and we can discuss all these other 12 evidences of a hoax.
Well,
But-
I mean, we heard one of the smoking guns, and it wasn't exactly smoking. So, I mean, usually
That-
chills are done
those-
at the end, but
I think he
Those
gave
two things I
actually.
just mentioned
Two.
are not part of that.
okay.
I would
There's
ask
12. There's more than 12, but anyway.
if you do
I'm
have
just saying-
an example you want to pull there, Doctor. We did have a couple more minutes of discussion technically on the clock, but if you guys wanted to move into Q&A, that's fine as well.
Oh, I had another point to bring up too. The radio transmissions from the landers and things were picked up by Australia and the Soviet Union, and that wouldn't be possible from low Earth orbit, so they had to be farther out.
Any thoughts over there?
Yeah, it could be unmanned. So, do you mind if I have to kind of go a little soon. Do you mind if I make my closing statement?
Oh, if you want to take 1 minute to make a closing statement, it's nice if we can get through some of the audience questions, because there are a few questions that'll probably be pointed towards some of the things that you've said. So if you have to get through those quickly, I'm going to stop talking and I'll give you 1 minute there. Okay.
Okay. So thank you. There are 4 kinds of people who work for space agencies. There's the people who know it was a hoax and are not talking. There are the people who know it was a hoax and they're lying about it. And then there's the people like me who know it was a hoax and are talking about it. And now there's the 4th group, are the people who simply still believe it was real. Okay, so I know I am a whistleblower. I know it was a hoax. I'm actually risking my job and my career to come here and to admit what I'm admitting to you guys. Now, just to throw in the last thing, we have a
15 seconds.
moon landing. We have a moon landing hoax Facebook group, and there's 42,000 members and 0 flat earthers. We've been kicking out flat earthers ever since 2015 when they first appeared. And I don't have anything against flat earthers. I don't have anything against people who believe the moon landings were real. I find they both there's a lot of similarities between flat earthers and people who believe the moon landings are real, because neither one of them will examine the evidence. You know, I presented.
We're past time. We're past a minute.
Okay.
So, I will cut you off there just for the sake of time. Once TJump gets back, we'll go right into our Q&A. I usually like to save closings till the end. I don't know if anybody else prefers to do their closing now, just because we do get sometimes into new topics when we get discussing these questions that come in from the audience. And on that note, get your questions in the Q&A, guys, because we are going to go through them and answer as many of them as we can. Also, hit that like and subscribe button. And on top of that, I did pin the email for Modern Day Debate. So if you're interested in having these discussions, whether you want to talk about the flat earth, the globe, if you want to be talking about creationism, evolution, we want to hear from you. So that email is pinned in the chat right now. It's moderndaydebate@gmail.com. So check us out and send an email there, because we'd love to see some new faces on Modern Day Debate. It's always fun. Also, I will say, since TJump's not back yet, if you're like, oh, I'm scared, I can't go on camera, I'm squeamish, that's just, I'm not ready. We actually have a Discord, and it's pretty rad. You can pop in there if you've got something gets your goat. There's all kinds of debate channels that are related to the subjects that we debate on Modern Day Debate, and you can exercise your chops there, get some confidence and maybe a lower stress environment, and then maybe we might see you on the show. That'd be a lot of fun. So once again, moderndaydebate@gmail.com is tagged there. Let's see if we got any questions for Austin and Dr. Rasa while we wait for TJump to come back from wherever TJump has gone. All right, well, let's see. Ozian Doc says the radiation dosage is about 200 times the rate on the moon as it is on the surface of the Earth, or 5 to 10 times that of a transatlantic flight. Dr. Roz, what is Newton's law of gravitational formula?
Okay, so let me come to the question about this radiation dosage. Okay, now it all depends on what kind of sensors you're using. Now, the thing is, there's different kinds of radiation, and some of them have higher speeds and higher force because they're larger particles. Okay, so the sensors that we've been sending up are not the ideal kind of sensors to really know what's going on. So the thing is, when you're out in space, it's a random thing. Any kind of particles can come from any direction. The sensors really can only give you a clue as to what's up there. So that's why NASA is so heavily invested in cancer treatment therapies, because they know that when the astronauts come back, they will be having cancer. The radiation shielding using now is pretty good, but it's not quite good enough. So that's why when those Artemis 2 astronauts come back with cancer, then the cancer research treatments centers that NASA has been invested in will help them.
Okay, so the cancer research centers are there for the people that have cancer in the US, not for any astronauts specifically. The Apollo missions, the astronauts did get a dose of radiation. It was lower than the standard recommended dose for people that work with radiation. So yes, they did get a dose of radiation. It was not a fatal dose. It was not a dangerous dose. If they continued to do so for an extended period of time, it would certainly be a problem, like anybody that works with radiation, like a X-ray machine operator or anything like that. But for the travel, they chose a path that was in a very, very narrow band of the Van Allen, and they had radiation shielding to mitigate the dose, and they were traveling really fast. Like, they went through it very, very fast. So
yeah, I've heard all these stories too. It's what you call the fox which guards the hen house. Of course, NASA is going to tell you, oh, they got little radiation. Yeah, that's what the fox says. There's no hens missing from the hen house.
Or it's true and you're just crazy.
A conspiracy.
Oh, yeah, it could be that.
Could be. Maybe
Okay.
you might want to consider it.
All right, before we just go right down that path, let's see. LJ, hey, you're back again. You're on for the right topic. Our live chat, what would you call him? Token flat Earth commenter on every debate. So we're happy you're here. It's 2024. Why don't we have a camera on the moon?
We have had cameras on the moon. They literally took pictures. You mean why don't we put like a 24/7 camera on the moon? I mean, we could.
Oh, and just for the record, just in that last question, you didn't actually answer what Newton's gravitational formula was.
Anyway, I mean, let's, like I said, I don't care whether people question my credentials. I could just be making this up. I don't care whether you believe me or not. You'll see I'm right,
Do you know any
Okay.
equations? You said you were a quantum physicist. Do you know any equations? Laplace's equation.
Like I said, I'm not here to make you happy and to make you try to believe me. I don't care whether you believe me or not,
You don't.
I'm sorry, you're a physicist that doesn't know Newton's gravitational.
I'm not saying that. I'm a physicist who doesn't care whether you believe me or
Okay.
not.
Okay, just interesting.
All right.
Sorry, could you repeat that question, Ryan? I do apologize.
So this is from LJ. He usually comes in with classics, letting us know what his dog knows.
Yeah.
What does your dog know, LJ? Let us know. It's 2024. Why don't we have a camera on the moon?
Yeah, the Indian and Chinese famously took pictures. Yeah, as TJump said, like a webcam. Is that what you're expecting? Like the Chinese rover famously, it took a picture of the lander, and the lander took a picture of the rover, kind of thing. So I don't know what more you kind of want. There's not a lot to take pictures of up there, by the way. It's not like you're going to see, massive sites and things. They're taking pictures though.
All right. Let's carry on there. Free Palestine, $5. Thank you. From says it's 2024. We should have hotels on the moon, honeymoons on the moon, and peaceful moonless nights. Earth is seriously flat. Happy New Year. Well, Happy New Year to you, Free Palestine. Any thoughts on that, TJump or Mark?
I think it costs $1 million to get like what, a pound out of the atmosphere per pound, and you want to put a hotel? Like, who's going to go there? Elon Musk, maybe.
Jeffrey Bezos. Anyways, let's carry on. LJ says, hey, sheep, how was the U.S. flag blowing on the moon?
It wasn't. It was just basically it had a wire up the top that kept it up, because otherwise it would have just slowly fallen down. And the blowing that you're seeing, that isn't wind. That's just when they're putting it in, when there's sort of forces working on it, it's being held up by the wire, but it's not still.
Momentum.
Yeah, momentum. Yeah, essentially. Yeah. The thing that gets me is if it was all a stage kind of thing and filmed in a sound stage that was all fake, there wouldn't be an end of wind either. So I don't understand why this question even exists, quite frankly.
Alrighty. Well, we can move on. Unless you had any thoughts over there, Austin or Dr. Raza?
Yeah, I can comment on this, because one of the things I try to do is to help educate people who provide false evidences that it was a hoax. Like some people say, oh, there's no stars in the picture, so that proves it's a hoax. No, that's a false evidence to put forward. And so is this a flag waving thing. Now, the thing is, regarding the flag waving, there's one movie called American Moon, and they did a good job of covering this subject. So when the astronaut's hand is on the pole, then you would expect the flag to be waving, right? But then there's other videos where the astronaut walks past the flag and the flag moves even though the astronaut never touches it. Now, the official NASA excuse there would be a static electric effect. But then there's another scene where there's no astronauts anywhere in the picture and the flag still moves. And that one is still a little bit questionable. It could have been a breeze blowing through the studio.
All right, let's carry on there, guys. Let's see. Let's scroll on up. Robin Webster for membership chat says Mark Reid is the GOAT. So you got a fan out there,
Oh,
Mark?
thank you, Robin.
Ozian Talk says we read that one. Rudolph says for the doctor, what is the conjugate of A plus bi? Bi.
Okay. Anyway, I'm not interested in people who question my story. Like I said, I'm not. For me, it doesn't matter whether you believe me or not. I'm not here to play that game. All I'm doing is I'm putting a seed in your mind, and then in the future, you'll see I'm right.
Alrighty. Let's see what else we got here. Keep the super chats coming in, everybody. We appreciate the chats, and they keep the conversation moving along. If there's something that we didn't get a chance to talk about during the debate, get it in there because we've only got a few more left, and then we're going to wrap it up. So, Robin Webster says the audience did not show up to hear your story. They feel like you have lost just on that premise alone. Well. If you want to take a moment to respond to that, and then we'll carry on, because Robin's kind of calling you out. So do you have anything to say?
Calling who out?
They're saying that the audience did not show up to hear your story with no evidence. They feel like it was disrespectful, and they're saying you lose. Did you have anything to say to Robin, or do you want to just carry on?
I don't understand.
Let's just carry on, guys. It's a little too.
Well, I'll back up Dr. Rasa in a certain way, and I want to be charitable here. That I don't think debates. I don't like the application of win-lose to debates. I think it's important to have that sort of discussion and opposition of ideas, but it is bewildering the way that you've sort of come to a debate and said, "Well, I'm not here to debate." It's really unusual, but it's sort of saying, hey, I don't have anything to present in a way that my idea is superior or is better than yours, but I'm going to come to argue it to a place to argue it anyway. It just seems like you've got nothing to present.
Right. Well, let me respond, please. I have a Facebook group with 42,000 members. And I kick out any sign of a flat earther. But I allow people who believe the moon landings were real because I can learn from them. I'm learning from you guys. I like to hear your answers to these questions. And I have many, many, many more. I have this 12 smoking gun list, and I'm not, I just like to hear your answers. It's just a learning experience for me.
All right. Sounds like a win for everybody then. Let's carry on. Jimbo Khan says, astronauts on wires, paperclip, von Braun, Parsons, why do they fake ISS shoots? Is space a vacuum or not? Thoughts, TJump?
They don't. It's not fakes. You're crazy.
Or you, Mark?
Yeah, they're not on wires. That's absolutely ludicrous, and sort of we've had this conversation about artifacting on things. So it's just this whole idea, this conspiracy theory stuff. People love to get into it. They love to see any kind of, well, I've got secret knowledge that you don't have. Makes me feel good about myself. I think you could probably find some papers on why conspiracy theories exist. And if we're wrong, we're wrong. I mean, if they provide solid evidence and sort of admit that they faked it, sure, I'll be the first to admit that I was wrong. But until then, we have to look at things logically and go with the best evidence that we have. It's not good to just believe a conspiracy because you want that conspiracy to be true. That's not good enough.
All right. Let's try to carry on here. We got a couple more super chats coming in. Thank you so much, everybody, for your super chats. And yeah, you're more than welcome to keep asking questions. Robin Webster says that the temperature was 38 degrees Fahrenheit in the command module.
Or 3 degrees Celsius. Yes, correct.
Oh, us Canadians and Australians. Blasphemy. Any thoughts on that, or do you guys just want to carry on? It's more of like a statement. Yeah, all right. Nobody's kind of biting. Sorry, Robin. JimboCon.
No, I'll say something. I did say she's
Mark.
absolutely right, absolutely right, and I'm not sure, and they had to keep warm in blankets, and they're incredibly cold, kind of thing. So I just dislike this whole idea that these people going through such discomfort and such sort of it's not comfortable the way that they traveled. It's not like they went in a luxury liner or something. And the idea that, hey, they're all just lying is it's kind of just really insulting.
All right. Well, let's carry on. Jimbo Khan asks, waste of dollars, mineral mining. China can though, right?
Oh, can I reply?
Sure. I think that's kind of yeah, go for it.
Yeah, I mean, so we are designing ships now. In China, we have put the priority of mining minerals from the moon over sending a man to the moon. Sending a man to the moon is really not a practical thing because of the radiation problem. Maybe he can step out, grab a snaffy, grab a selfie, and come back. That's not a practice. It's just a waste of money. But mining the moon is a value because the moon is covered with rare materials, and it's actually less environmentally damaging to actually get them from the moon than it is to try to dig them up from here on Earth.
Any thoughts on the other side?
Yeah, that's definitely one practical application. Also, if we're going to use the moon as a staging point, the moon's gravity is so much lower than Earth's, it would make a very good staging point. So if there is that reason that if we want to make a staging point, I don't think automation can do what is necessary to make it so.
All right. Last one right now coming in before we go into our closing statements. So thank you everybody for your super chats. If you don't get the super chat in before we finish this one up, we're going to go to closing statements. LJ says, as another one comes in, LJ says, Doctor, provide your number one proof we are on a globe.
Okay, that's no problem. First of all, if you look at a ship going out over the ocean, you can see it's slowly getting down. The water rises up as the ship goes down. I mean, you can see that anybody who has a proper camera. Now, what the flat earthers try to do is they zoom in, they zoom out, they say, oh, this is just a zoom effect. But if you just zoom in on the ship and you just watch it go down over the horizon, it's not going away as it would do on a flat earth.
Well, I'm glad we agree on that, Dr.
Before
glad we agree on something.
Yeah, before we get too sidetracked, right? So Savage Top attends says, which university did Dr. Raza get his doctorate / PhD? It's kind of personal. Yeah. You don't have to answer that.
I don't mind answering. I went to 4 different universities, and the fourth university was where I got my doctorate. My doctorate is actually in natural medicine. Okay, so it's called Clayton College University.
Alrighty, and yeah, Matters Now had put in a membership chat there. We are going to be doing an after show on Matters Now, so we'll put the link for that in the description, and yeah, hopefully we'll see you all there. I'll also give you guys the StreamYard link, so you can join us if you'd like. So Nominal, last chat here, says, soon we'll go to deep space and mine dark matter.
I like that.
Ozian Talks coming in with 1 membership, and then we'll go into the into our closings. It says, Mark's style is lovely. It outshines his debate. So, membership chat, just a fan chat. That's always nice to see.
Oh, thank you, Ozian. It outshines my head as well. That's yeah.
All right. So, TJump, we'll start with you. 1 minute on the clock. Closing statements on the discussion, and where can everybody find you?
Potato.
YouTube.com/TJump. Any thoughts on the closing of the debate?
Nope.
Nope. Alrighty. Over to you, Mark. 1 minute on the clock. Your closing thoughts.
Yeah, so I talk a lot about conspiracy theory and what makes people believe them. And it's not like every conspiracy theory is false, sure, but we can't just assume that conspiracy theories are right on nothing but sort of anecdotal evidence and nothing on people's say-so, because there's all kinds of people saying this is a conspiracy and that's a conspiracy, and we don't know who to believe. So the rational way is to go with what the evidence says and try and uncover more evidence. And unfortunately, today we didn't have any evidence whatsoever. There's a whole load of what ifs and a whole load of, well, they had motivations, and a whole load of, well, I see this myself. No real actual concrete evidence that any of this was faked, and a lot of evidence to say that it was not. The retro reflectors, the photographs, all of the evidence says that this was actually done, and they explained how to do it. And we didn't get any explanations why they couldn't. Just a whole load of hyperbole. I still believe that we went to the moon. I think it was a tremendous feat. I haven't been given today any reason why we could not make it to the moon, other than misunderstandings about how cold space is and misunderstandings about radiation.
All right.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, TJump and Mark Reid, for being here and your closing statements. Dr. Rasa, would you like to go first?
Actually, could Austin go first?
Oh, sure. I didn't know if you were still in a hurry. So, Austin, 1 minute on
So Mark just said we were supposed to provide concrete evidence that Moon landing didn't happen. We don't have the burden of proof. So there is some circumstantial evidence that didn't happen. But we really have to look at the empirical evidence that the moon landing non-skeptics provide. And what is it, moon rocks? Is that a fusion crust? They find those in Antarctica all the time. There's footage, which, I don't know, looks like pretty easy to take me with wires in a black background, or just, in a microgravity plane. The better evidence is presented next year, then the first time it was mistaken. When they don't, please just consider that maybe you're wrong about this one.
Alrighty. Over to you, Dr. Raza. 1 minute on the floor.
All right. I want to try to explain to you how NASA pulled off this hoax. The way they did it was they sent the astronauts to low Earth orbit, and then they had beamed down the pre-recorded video clips of them hopping around inside of a stage studio. Now, NASA was able to send unmanned craft to the moon. NASA was able to place down retroreflectors using those unmanned crafts. NASA was able to scoop up rocks and bring those rocks back to Earth using unmanned crafts. So that's how they did it. They sent unmanned crafts, brought the rocks back. They sent down pre-recorded video clips of them hopping around inside a studio, and then they presented the rocks to the public as these are real rocks brought back by human hands.
Alright. We're going to close it out there, guys. So thanks everybody for tuning in for our first debate of 2024. We're glad that y'all made it. We're glad we're here too. So if you had fun, hit the like button, share this out.